And welcome everyone to another episode of Comic Book Spectrum. And guess what? We got a new correspondent sitting in on today. Everybody meet Cliff.
Hello.
Hey!
Now, for those who've been paying attention to the multiverse fundraiser, you should know who Cliff is because why? He's part of the B-list boosters.
Yeah, technically Clyde is the B-list boosters, and we're just all there for support.
Oh, that's not true. That's not true at all. They every year they present a wide range of characters and every time you put one out there, I'm like, yeah, why didn't I pick that guy or that gal? Yeah. In fact, Cliff Riley here, our guest tonight, he did a look back at Mon-El and Valor and all the iterations, including the Supergirl TV show version that we all kind of went, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I started
the 80s version?
No, the one that was on Supergirl.
Yeah, the TV show.
Now, remember, there was a recent one that was started on CBS that went to CW, and then there was another one before that.
Yeah, it was the original, the one from the CW, and they introduced Mon-El, or Dude Bro Mon-El, as some people called him. He was somehow dating Supergirl, and no one bothered to mention why they had the same last name or
that they could be seriously related.
Well, technically they are related because Mon-El's from Daxam, and those are just Kryptonians from that colonized a different planet.
Mm-hmm.
But no one explained any of that. It was just like, oh, here's this guy from another planet, and he does stuff. Now he's a love interest. There you go.
Well, if you go based upon the CW Supergirl, it's like it's like a love triangle between Mon-El and Mr. I'm always going to call him Kibbles, but Mistleplex.
Oh
yeah.
I was like, I watched that. I was like, what in the world they're doing? It's like, why would Mistleplex ever fall in love with Kara like that? No, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make comic book sense.
I started off, I thought it was a really good show, and I was glad there was a Supergirl, mainly because I've got daughters. So I'm like, yeah, Supergirl. I like Supergirl growing up in the 80s. And then I started watching it, and the episode where Red Tornado was on it, which upset me so bad because he's like my favorite Justice League character. He looked like an easy bake oven. And
yeah, I was like that.
I was just like, what is going on? And then they introduced Martian Manhunter, and he was like, oh man, he's perfect. Oh wait, that's where the budget for costumes went. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
So
when they introduced Miss Martian, that's when the budget got cut.
Yeah, I didn't make it that far.
Do you remember season 1 that was on CBS? Because season 1, that to me was the beginning and ending of Supergirl. When it came over to CW, all bets were off.
Yeah.
Did they do the Hi Megan thing that they were doing on the animated with Ms. Martian?
Okay. No.
Yeah, I gave up.
This series of Supergirl focused more on the character that was supposed to be her, if I could say, her secret identity. They actually made that character, they made the secret identity into a actual character.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And they spent a lot of time dealing with her and her relationships and everything to that magnitude. But I lost interest when they introduced the Kryptonians coming back and the fact that it's like, oh, I gotta fight my cousin now. And it was a big letdown there when that happened. And then eventually they showed Superman, CW Superman. Yeah. Eventually they actually did it, and I'm just like, oh gosh.
Yeah, and they introduced the Legion since they had Mon-El, but none of what they said on camera made any sense as far as who these people were. And then they had Hank Henshaw, the cyborg Superman, but there was like no connection whatsoever to Superman. He was just a part robot, and he called himself Cyborg Superman. So you're like, what is happening? And I just I finally gave up, like I do with a lot of the CW shows. So
I feel bad.
No,
I
no.
I like the original Superman series on there. I found excuse me. They jumped the shark a little towards the end of it, and I started, waning my viewership. But I had hoped that the later shows would be okay, but I guess not. I'm sad.
yeah, we look. My wife and I, and my oldest, who is going to turn 23 tomorrow, so I'm probably going to go get in a wheelchair. Um, we love Smallville. It's like the
Yeah, I
original CW
love
show.
Smallville.
But after like season 4 or 5, it was like they ran out of story ideas. They're like, okay, how can Clark lose his powers this time? And he forgets who he is. Oh, let's put some red kryptonite just randomly here. And then I thought we finally gave up when they had the season with Doomsday, and they kept building up and building up to the fight. And it was like one frame on camera, and then the rest of it was off panel. I was like, I spent the entire season waiting on this. I'm done with you people.
Again, no budget.
Hmm.
Just like, oh, we're going to introduce Suicide Squad, and then you have the reveal that Amanda Waller was dang, I can't even think the actress name, and I met her.
I know who you're talking about. If is this the same woman who does the voice for the animated?
No,
Oh,
we're
okay.
talking about big name. I'm talking about the same actress that played Coffee.
Pam Grier?
Pam Grier played
Mm.
Amanda Waller in Smallville. And it was a big reveal to that, and everybody was like, holy crap. And it same thing with JSA, when they introduced JSA and they introduced Dr. Fate and the Helmet of Naboo, and it's like build it up, and then when they finally got to the story, like just like the very last episode,
DC is just dropping the ball.
We were going to eventually get to see Clark in the suit, and we didn't. We get the blur and then just the S, and that's it.
Now, don't forget the most important part about the last episode. Jimmy Olsen dies, and we have this funeral, and everyone's sad and crying. And then they turn and hand the camera to, here, little real Jimmy Olsen, who's still alive. Here's your camera. Your brother would want you to have it. So the entire time, that wasn't Jimmy Olsen. It was fake Jimmy Olsen.
It was alternate reality Jimmy Olsen.
It was a mess.
Did you guys see the trailer for Fantastic Four this week?
Oh man,
no, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, we'll not spoil it, but that reveal at the end, Clyde, they thought I had lost my mind because I jumped up yelling that particular name. Talk about hitting that G spot. And they're all looking like, okay, she didn't, we're gonna have to figure out something to chill her out because she getting a little too, she's losing it in there.
I saw a meme where they had taken the image that you're talking about, that character, and they put a face on it from a different movie that said, "It's about time I got up in here. I'm gonna make a name for myself now."
If you haven't seen it, Joe, the Media Nights have done their reaction to. In fact, YouTube just I watched both Struggle Nation and the Media Nights reactions to it, and about an hour later, they released the teaser trailer. So it is on YouTube.
Okay.
I saw that. Did you see the new Jurassic thing, Clyde?
No.
Ooh, ScarJo's in it.
I knew that, but I haven't seen it.
I know. So yeah, it's kind of like Black Widow facing off against dinosaurs. The cool. Premise is these are the dinosaurs that didn't make the team at the park. This is a island that this was the research. This was where they were doing a lot of the research for the park. And these are the dinosaurs that they didn't play well with the other dinosaurs. You know, they weren't people safe dinosaurs.
The behavioral disorder dinosaurs. That's
yes, it's the behavioral disorder dinosaurs. And you have to. It's one of those things you kind of have to see it, because these dinosaurs, they have to go. I don't know what it is, why they have to go. They have to go and they have to get DNA from this particular dinosaur, and they have to get it from one of the eggs. So they can't get it from the dinosaur itself. They have to get it from one of the eggs. I guess there's sickness in the dinosaur community, and it's affecting the human community, because at this point, you know, the dinosaurs have kind of like, this is our planet again. So, you know, y'all just live in here until we eat you. And it's, you have to see it. It's one of those, okay, you're going to have to see this, because I don't know how to describe it without giving it away. And then, you know, spoiling the idea of going to see the movie. But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I wasn't going to really bother with the Fantastic Four, because I liked the one that had Ioan Gruffudd and Jessica Alba in it. And I didn't feel the need for don't do that. Do not make. I know where you live. Stop. Anyway,
we might have to have that fight me bro moment.
You know,
it depends on how this one does. It really depends on how this one does, because that version had its problems too.
No, it wasn't perfect. I'm not saying that it was perfect in any way, but it was like, okay, I will admit I am a Ioan Gruffudd fan. So it's like, y'all just fired homeboy because I don't know. Because you know, Reed is, you know, he's the oldest living old guy in Marvel outside of what, Professor X. But this group, it's an interesting time in their lives that they show it. You know, and it's Pedro Pascal, who we all know from The Mandalorian, is playing Reed.
I want to be Pedro Pascal. That man has Star Wars money, Marvel money, and PlayStation money because of The Last of Us.
Yeah,
I want to be Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, that's right.
See, I thought you were going to say, because, you know, you want to be Pedro Pascal because women are going up to him like, hey, baby.
Here's Maxwell Lord,
and he got to be on screen. I don't know what to do with that.
He got to be on screen with Gal Gadot, so you know,
he's getting all sorts of, like, you know, he's definitely having his moment, and I hope it lasts him a while. He seems, you know, because he's also not only that, but he did the live action Last of Us series.
Yeah,
you know, and people really like that. So yeah, he's doing well.
I enjoyed the trailer for Fantastic Four, but then I found out too that a lot of the production people and the creative force behind it, they did WandaVision. This is kind of their movie shot at doing that retro futuristic. You know, you definitely get that if you live through the space race and the lunar landing, like some of us did. They really capture that. It's like, what if the astronauts were the heroes that we knew, but also got superpowers while they were up there? You know,
but that was the whole, at least they didn't retcon them like they've done with some superheroes, you know, to make them more acceptable or whatnot. They kind of retconned their origin stories. At least they didn't do this. This kind of addresses the origin story. Some people are asking, you know, some fans are asking, is RG Days Doom going to show up? And, you know, are they going to do a set of these and introduce RJ Days, Robert Downey Jr., RDJ. Okay. Are they going to introduce, his doom via these? The movie doesn't answer that, but considering what you see at the end, it was like, okay, screw Robert. I'm sorry. You had your time, boo. This dude. I want that dude. I want that dude. Because, I remember when he ate a particular planet. It just made me smile.
It looks less cloudy now. So
So what I did see in pictures was true. It was him.
I can neither confirm or deny.
I thought
because like towards one of the articles that I read about it, they actually showed the picture where it was like the image of him kind of like towering over them on Earth. I was like, oh, they really doing that.
Yeah, they show like a shadow, and then they show the shot from the back. Helmet from the back. And like I said, when I saw the shadow, I just jumped up and screamed. And like I said, these poor children, they were so happy I was out of the house today, because it meant, okay, she's not freaking out over commercials.
But I'm happy that they're doing 1960.
Yeah,
now, go ahead before I finish. I can finish my thought after.
I'm happy because I just remember them having the Fantastic Four cartoons when I was a little girl. And so it had that sort of aesthetic. The cartoons just had that kind of aesthetic to it. And so I always loved that. Some of it feels a little too 1950s, the dream thing. And Clyde, you know what I'm talking about. We have Sunday dinner thing. But at the same time, I think maybe that's the juxtaposition. That attempt at normalcy, even though for them the world is basically upside down. And the characters, it's interesting because, excuse me, is that what's his name? He was the kid in Third Rock from the Sun as Ben Grimm. I can't place the actor who's playing Ben Grimm. I thought it was Jordan Levitt, but I'm like, is that? I'm not sure. But, because my first thought, is that Jordan Levitt playing? I don't know who the guy is playing Johnny. I don't recognize him.
He's from Stranger Things. He was the D&D guy.
Oh, okay. With the long hair.
Yep. He had long dark hair.
Yeah, the whole Vecna thing. That's why I didn't recognize him, because it is his look as Johnny is such a different, And when I knew it was the Fantastic Four, I have to admit, I was kind of expecting, and I kind of get where they went, because it's like, okay, we are not getting a Chris Evans lookalike. So
I thought that the Thing's appearance was very the later rock-like Kirby look to him, which is impressive.
I like I said, it goes back to, it feels a little like the Fantastic Four of my childhood, when so many of the superhero movies have kind of like, we're going to do it for an updated audience, and it's like, yeah, but those of us who help build these things and make them, you kind of just sort of bypassed the audience, that kind of the reason they're still here for these, for these newer kids, is because us. And you kind of just went, and this was kind of like, oh, this is a nod to my childhood. I am grateful. Sorry, Cliff.
Oh, you're fine. I liked from the what I've seen of the trailer, because I glanced at it on my phone. I like the fact that the two things about the Fantastic Four that I always liked, and I'm not a big Marvel fan. I'm just telling you guys out now. I like the fact that Fantastic Four were always portrayed as a family more than a team. And in the
Yeah.
trailer, they looked like a family. And the other thing is, the people the creators who really understood the Fantastic Four didn't write them as superheroes. They wrote them as explorers or adventurers who just stumble on all of this craziness.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping they do with the movie. Because I can tell that they're playing up the family end, but
Mhm.
they don't work as superheroes. The world's smartest stretchy man is not a good superhero. He's a Professor Quest from Johnny Quest with the ability to be a rubber band. So that's what I'm hoping they do with the movie. And from what I've seen, it looks like they are. So this may be one of the first movies I actually like. So
Less superheroes and more, I don't know what you call them, maybe challengers of the unknown. Oh, wait.
Yes.
That's a different franchise. It's a different franchise.
The same creator in a lot of ways.
Mark Waid, when he wrote the Fantastic Four, he used a phrase, he called them Imaginauts.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that fits them more than being a superhero does. So fingers crossed, but I'll see it when it's on Disney Plus. So
I was gonna say, are we gonna,
well,
maybe we should sponsor hey, let's do a us night at the movies. Well, someone can rent it and we can all tag in on our computers and watch it together and say stupid stuff.
Science Theater 3000. That's it when it gets to digital, maybe.
I did that when the pandemic first started. All of our little friend group around here, we had a Zoom dinner and a movie party, and we picked the worst movie we could find on Amazon Prime, and we all started watching it. And it was so funny because we all started at the same time, but everyone's internet was a little bit different. So some people were like 5 minutes behind us. Thankfully, it was a movie no one really cared about. But yeah, that was a fun time.
You remember what it was? What movie?
It was a bad karate movie starring a bunch of the UFC females, and it the entire budget I think was spent on the iPhone they filmed it on. It was bad. It was bad.
Oh wow. Every once in a while, for my oldest son, I try to make them watch classic horror films. So I think the last one we did was The Blob.
Oh, yeah.
And that was fun though, introducing them to The Blob and discussing where the whole, adults just don't get it vibe, and it takes the kids to save the world. Because a lot of people think, oh, okay, that's all, Skeleton Crew and stuff, that's all modern. It's like, no, let me get you in the way back and show you where this all starts. And we were having fun because even though they were making fun of the effect of the monster and stuff, they really did towards the middle of the movie start getting into it. And then especially as they started learning where certain tropes came from, the people running from the theater, and they're like, oh, it's like, yep. And and we started talking about how that was filmed, and they did an anniversary thing where they went and got those people in that same theater and had them running out and filmed it. And it was a lot of fun to introduce them to something that they hadn't seen before. These guys had not seen that movie before. So it's like, because what I'm hoping to do is kind of like sort of bridge that gap so the younger kids can see, because a lot of them, they talk about The Thing and they hadn't, and it's like, and they're discovering, they discovered The Thing, John Carpenter's with Kurt Russell. It's like, there was another movie before that. Marshall Dillon was The Thing. And it was a whole different set of, it was a whole different set. I am hoping in the next couple of months of introducing them to the Navy versus the Night Monsters, because I love that film. It is such a, when you think of it, it's just such a crazy sort of goofy type film. That and what I would like to do is do a twofer, that and the Attack of the Triffids.
I've never seen Attack of the Triffids. I've seen still. but I need to find a copy and watch that.
When I was a kid, that movie scared the bejesus out of me. And we moved to this place on the west side where the people next door had these huge cabbage roses. And during this, and they were just, and I was a very short child. So they had these big cabbage roses blooming. And I would just, and my mom would sometimes make me go out late at night to dump the garbage. And I was just scared to death because I just knew these cabbage roses were triffids. They were triffids in disguise. And they were just waiting for the moment for me to let down my guard so they could eat me up.
The one that got me as a little kid was it was one of those black and white, showed on black and white TV in the middle of the afternoon. The monolith monsters, the rocks that grow and then they would topple on you.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why that one. I mean, of all the different kinds of horror movies I watched, from Creatures of the Black Lagoon to that one for a science fiction one, that just kind of unnerved me as a kid. But
Fiend Without a Face got me as a kid. Fiend Without a Face was one that got me as a kid. Mm-hmm. Did you ever see that, Cliff?
I think I might have heard of it. Not that big of an older movie buff.
Okay. How far back should I do the Wayback Machine for you?
Well, I mean, I have much older siblings and cousins, so I know a little smattering of all of it, but firsthand knowledge, I'm a kid of the 80s. That's you were talking about everybody thinks skeleton crew is for today's audience, but I grew up watching the Monster Squad, and that was nothing but a bunch of little kids. So I remember I was just laughing. My oldest daughter is a big horror fan, and she likes like out there horror movies, so like the body horror and like.
Oh, has she seen? Okay. You haven't let her see the? No, is this the 23-year-old? Mm-hmm. Okay, so has she seen The Substance?
I think that's on her list.
Okay. I just watched it. Holy crap-a-moly.
Exactly.
That ending. Yeah. Oh, man. But I will say it is, even though she's not in as much of the film in the way that I would have liked to have seen her, damn, girl gives a they both do. Mm-hmm. They both do. They both give amazing performances. And and it's like, okay, I just hope that people don't get this, they're the first women I'm nominated for her. It's like, no, Sigourney Weaver got nominated for Aliens. Please let us not forget that. Let's not trample on what's come before.
Yeah,
what did you start to say?
I was gonna say my oldest, her name's Ta. She was on a trip. She wanted to watch a bunch of the older classic horror movies. And the first one I sat down and watched with her was the original Halloween. And she spent the entire movie just ragging on how bad it was. I was rolling on the floor laughing because she's like, all the people in this town are idiots. I hope they all die. And what made it even funnier is one of our really close friends, Eric Crimmins, runs horror action figure auctions. He's a big toy dealer. Mm-hmm. And Michael Myers is like Jesus to him or something. He has like all these Halloween tattoos and stuff. And she texted him and said, "Uncle Eric, I'm watching Halloween for the first time." And he's like, "Yeah, girl, how do you like it?" He goes, "This movie sucks. Why do you like it?"
Is she a Lord of the Rings fan? The movies, the cinematic? Okay, because I was about to say, whenever I hear somebody start ragging on New Line, it's like, hello, the house of Jason and Freddy is the house that gave us PJ. So, to gave us PJ's Lord of the Rings. Shut up.
Yeah, she, which is surprising. She hated that, but she loved the original Scream, which I wasn't expecting.
What?
So,
a lot of people are.
Oh my goodness.
Are now rediscovering it and are getting the thing. Though there are certain things, it's like I've watched a young couple do a reaction to the original Gremlins, and they didn't get the big joke. And the big joke is the girl is telling the guy, Phoebe Cates she's the love interest, and she's telling the guy why she hates Christmas. And it's the story of, her dad was supposed to come home and he never did. And then some months later, they noticed the smell coming out of the fireplace, and they thought maybe a raccoon or something got down in there. And it was her dad dressed as Santa Claus. He was going to come down the chimney to surprise them, and got caught and broke his neck and died. And maybe I'm not telling it right, because I saw it.
You're telling it exactly how
we were watching it. I was in the theater and we're watching it, and it was like 1 minute you're kind of like, oh no, and the next minute you're just busting up, because there's the way that she delivers it that by the time she gets to the end of it, you're just falling over in your seat laughing. It was the big joke of the movie. And they're watching it and they're like, oh my God, that's so horrible. It's like, no, it's the joke. It's the joke. And to make sure that you got that was supposed to be a joke, they then, when they did the second movie, because it takes place on New Year's Eve, she then goes into another one of these whole diatribes. And about halfway through, he's like, okay. So you kind of go, oh, so that was a joke. Okay. I don't feel bad for laughing.
Yeah. The original Gremlins is a Christmas holiday tradition around here. We just got done watching it recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
We haven't watched part 2 yet. I'm kind of afraid to see how that will go. Yeah, I'm afraid to. I've seen it. I saw it in theaters, and I think I suffer from like the Mandela effect or something, because I saw a different middle part of the movie than was ever released on home video. Because in the middle of it where they say, okay, the Gremlins are in the movie theater and Hulk Hogan stands up and scares them all away. In the version of the movie I saw, they somehow got warped into a John Wayne movie, and John Wayne shot all the Gremlins to get them out of the movie theater.
Oh, okay.
And no one I've ever talked to saw that except me. So I think my psychosis started at like age 8 then. But I don't remember. That's what I remember seeing.
Did you ever look up to see if there were other versions?
You said that is in 2?
Yes. I never looked it up because I was like, I don't need more information. I'm insane. But that's what I saw. And I was with my cousin. So I'm like,
I'm trying to think,
okay,
what scene could that be where they're in a movie theater? I know that they were in some type of like recreation / club type deal. Like they're a nightclub type deal.
They're in a nightclub. There's a nightclub.
Well, it's like midway through the movie, it looks like the film's breaking. And it's where they break the fourth wall, and it's like, what's going on? Oh, sir, the Gremlins have gotten loose in the movie theater. And if I was smart enough to remember what it was on, I could look it up. But it was like this little break they put in the middle of the movie to show that the Gremlins didn't like the movie, so they were messing it up themselves. But yeah, in the home video version, Hulk Hogan stood up. And when I saw it in the theaters, Hulk Hogan wasn't in it. So
okay.
I may have slipped into a different dimension. I don't know.
All that still sounds like the first movie to me, because I think that's what happened. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the movie, there's that the theater scene happens in the first movie, but I don't think it's Hulk Hogan. But yeah, because they're trying, they get them all in because the intention is to kill them in the theater.
Yeah,
the intention was to kill them in the theater, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
Let me see. The Gremlins 2 has a scene where the Gremlins break the fourth wall and mess with the projector until Hulk Hogan forces them to stop.
Ah, okay.
For the VHS release, the Gremlins mess with the tape and change channels until John Wayne forces them to stop. So they both apparently happened. So I'm not as crazy.
So
Yeah.
you were not crazy.
Crazy, right?
It was a
time.
crazy film.
Mhm.
It was a
Yes.
crazy film.
But I do have 3 daughters now, so crazy left a long time ago.
Well, if it's any consolation, I have 2 sons. Well, 3, technically. So, and they all think I'm certifiable.
And I have to blame you for the earworm that I have in my head now of hi ho, hi ho, hi ho. Like he had to remind me of Gremlins in the theater scene with Snow White and hi ho. And they all singing along to it.
Well, when I got older, I got really sad because I read an article about all of the cut Gremlins that they were going to have in Gremlins 2. You know, because they were doing all the science experiments, and you had the bat gremlin and the spider and all this. There was going to be like a rhino, cow and a rhino, and like I think Gizmo was going to fight a gorilla instead of the spiders, something strange like that. I was like, I want to see all of that. I don't care about all the people in the movie. Just show me more of that.
No, my favorite gremlin was, I call her Kissy Face.
No, the second one.
Yeah, the one that
the boy crazy gremlin.
Yeah, my oldest Ty collects Monster High dolls, and Mattel does a separate collector's line now that you only can get on their website, and they've done like a Pennywise and Elvira and stuff like that. They did that female gremlin.
Oh, wow.
It sold out so quick. I had to hunt the thing down on eBay and spend like quadruple the price for it. But yeah, it looks exactly like the movie. It's perfect.
Cool. That's good to know. I missed out on getting the they had a Monster High doll of Wednesday from the series.
Yep, we got that one.
And I wasn't able to get it. So it's like, oh, somebody's gonna kill me on eBay.
They are. It's crazy because I'm a collector. I know where she got it from. I'll be sitting there at 11 Central when they release the new figures on Fridays, and I'm trying to put it in the cart for her in case she misses it. And I've put in my credit card information, and they've sold out that like as soon as I hit send. And I'm like,
oh no, yeah. I am so sorry. No, I'm sorry we were talking horror, Joe. Joe's
no, that was perfectly
Joe's
fine.
not a horror dude. Joe's not a big horror dude, so you know.
I have not seen anything that is remotely close to horror since what, 1990.
Hey, dude.
That's why I'm harsh, because everything does not fit in that. It's like people would say, like, "Well, Saw is horror." It's like, no, that's a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people will be like, "But it was gory and this, that, and the other." It's like, no, that's a thriller. That's not horror.
We go to both ends of the extreme. My oldest daughter loves like the really scary movies, and my middle daughter and I love the really terrible movies, like Six-Headed Shark Attack and that.
Oh, they got up to 6 now.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched Sci-Fi Channel since I got rid of Sling, so the last I watched was like 5-headed.
All you have to do is either go on Amazon or go to Tubi, and you can find all the bad horror movies you want. We watched one a few months ago called Karis Hell, and it was about a carousel horse that came to life because a kid wiped a booger on him, and he went on a murder spree. And there's one, if you really want to just question your life, go on Amazon and search for a movie called Velociraptor Pastor. It is about a preacher who turns into a velociraptor and fights crime.
Oh my goodness. I'd heard of that one. My favorite Amazon creature feature is one, and I keep forgetting the name. This of course, as most Amazon movies are, as most sci-fi creature features are, it happens in a small town. And they have a natural history museum, and somehow they get their hands on a preserved a mastodon. And this creature from another planet. It crashes down, kind of like the Blob, because it's in this like meteorite, and it ends up taking over the mastodon.
I have to
And
hunt this down.
this mastodon, because elephants, and this is true, elephants can sneak the heck up on you,
Mm-hmm.
and you wouldn't know it until, boop, boop, boop. And so the way this thing gets you is it sneaks up, and then you're like, you turn around and it sucks your life force out of you. And
I'll try to end the horror talk on this one. Have any of you seen the trailer for the new Bambi horror movie?
There's a Bambi horror film coming out?
You know, all of these characters that have entered public domain, like Winnie the Pooh and all of them, they're making horror movies. There's a Popeye one coming out, Steamboat Willie, and they're all going to be combined together in this little horror company's version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They call it the Poohverse, and they're going to have their own Avengers Endgame. But yeah, it's called Bambi the Reckoning. And the only thing you see is this car driving off, and this giant zombie-looking deer come up and like hit it with its horns, and it does a flip and lands back down. And then Bambi screams, and it says "coming soon."
That reminds me. Speaking of deer horror, have you ever watched the Masters of Horror episode with the deer woman?
No.
Cliff, it's actually called The Deer Woman. And it is definitely worth a watch because it is both horrifying and also humorous at times, but it's like a great B movie that, was very lavishly done for this Masters of Horror anthology. But it reminds me, when you said the deer coming out and smacking into the cars, like, okay, that's like Deer Woman. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a fan of bad movies because I hate when I spend, like $800 to go to a movie in the theater and it's bad. I like going to them and the people who are making the movie go in knowing it's bad. Mm-hmm. So we're all on the same page. Mm-hmm. I like that better.
I like classic bad sci-fi horror movies. When I'm in the mood for something classic bad, I will go to Amazon and start looking up all the sci-fi creature features and horror films, because nobody did, I have to admit, Sharknado. It's Sharknado. It just, it's like you can't get any dumber than that. But on the other hand, it's a great thing to laugh at. It's a great thing to laugh at.
I like things like The Tingler with Vincent Price.
Oh, see, that scared the crap out of me.
That to me is horror. That's what horror is supposed to be. It's not a crappy movie, but it's people treat it as crap because of the simple fact it doesn't have the normal scary thing. It was psychological, and it made sense.
And the first LSD trip on film, put on film.
Well, I always think of the Lost.
Yeah, my oldest was
an early LSD trip on film. The mouse scene in the mouse in the wall scene is just Ray Milland. It's a 1950s black and white. It was supposed to be a drinking's not good for you type of movie. And it's called The Lost Weekend, and he gets the DDTs. And I won't describe it. You just, it's like, and as a kid seeing this on TV and black and white, oh my goodness. I was just scared. I was scared witless. And then somebody had to explain that's not likely to ever happen.
Just like Reefer Madness.
Yeah, I have never had a chance to sit down and watch that all the way through. I'm going to, though.
Watch Reefer Madness. It sounds like it's on the same level, just trying to scare people not to do
hemp
or marijuana at all.
We watched that in health class.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness, we didn't see that in health class. But
Yeah.
Movies, not horror, but hey, did you guys see the news story about the lawsuit, the heirs' lawsuit against the Superman rights? Have you heard
no,
about this?
Mm-mm.
No.
Not the new
no.
lawsuit. No.
Okay. Well, let me. Okay, so Joe Shuster's family is suing DC and Warner's over the Superman rights, claiming that in certain foreign territories, the rights to Superman have reverted to the family, because in the UK and in a few other places, UK, Canada, Australia, Ireland,
Mhm.
The Commonwealth.
it basically it says that that you have to renew it every so often there, or it reverts to the owners, and they didn't do that. So
Okay.
here, and it's all timed. They get this whole big movie in the works, and now they've got heirs going, we're not being paid what we're supposed to be, and you're wanting to release this big movie out in the, and then of course they bring up the whole how the creators signed over the rights for very little money, $130 that they split between them to give the rights to DC, and all the inequities of the past. But basically, it looks like it's well timed to pressure DC and Warner to go, okay, let's settle this out of court so we can release our movie. But it looks legitimate that they didn't renew the trademarks in those countries when they were supposed to keep everything above board. So
they probably weren't thinking about, how do we renew this in the British Commonwealth?
yeah,
But you don't understand how big of a problem that is.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. The British
that reopens up the door to revisiting what's going on here in the United States. They don't put it this way: DC no longer has worldwide distribution of Superman at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, the Schusters could go to like Image and say, "Here, you got Superman now, and you could do this overseas." There's nothing that DC can do about it.
True.
That whole public domain comic book story that is a analog for that kind of a dispute with a guy that created a character called the Domain back in his heyday, and he got bought out by a corporation, but they've exceeded their rights about what they were supposed to do, and so he took him to court, and it went one of those David and Goliath stories where they're going to keep you in court until you're old and buried, but later in his life here, and he's like in his 60s, he gets in front of the right judge to go, this is baloney. Okay, so you both own the rights. You can both publish your own domain, properties, and you have and like his has to be the way he created him originally, or there's some stipulations, but basically suddenly the creator has the right to make his own comic book again. And he gets his family and together to try to, but he's older, so he's like, he's got all these ideas he's always wanted to do, but how do you put it in terms that a younger audience will appreciate? And then of course the corporation, they have like a deal at a big comics con where he's going to announce that he's making his own new domain comic, and the corporate people get wind of it, so they have a big, like, launching a movie. They're making a movie of the character, so they have a big movie extravaganza thing with stars and panels to take all the attention away from him. And it's an interesting series, but it reminded me of exactly this kind of thing, of lawyers timing things just right to really hit you where it hurts.
I mean, Chip Zdarsky knew exactly what he was writing for public domain. I'm glad that you recommended that series to me.
Yeah, it's quite good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm just thinking, just distribution alone. Once they lose that, it's like, you can't do Superman overseas. It's like, even if you got the movie, even if you still got the movie rights, you can't go overseas with it, because as soon as the Commonwealth sees it, they could be like, nope, you're going to owe Schusters a big bag of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even if, well, the only good thing is that Britain is technically no longer in the EU.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't call up, Spain and Italy and France and Germany and say, "Hey, I'm an EU country and these guys are messing around and they didn't get it done, and you're gonna stand behind me so I can beat up on them." Yes, I'm doing the British as Mickey Mouse. Come at me. they're going to come up and do this and then we don't want them to do it.
Yeah, Pip and Cheerio and all that.
So at least he doesn't. At least they don't have the entire EU. But they may the EU could jump in on it and say, well, while they're technically no longer part of the EU, we still have connections, and we just decided, if Britain's not going to go there, we're not going to go there either. So there.
Well, I'm just looking at it from the standpoint if it is just Britain by itself, it still sets a precedence for all the other major regions like the Far East.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry. It's like, to me, it's not just about worry about the EU. It's like, if they win there, they win pretty much in every other region in the world except for the United States.
Yeah.
But that opens up the door. It's like, if you got to renegotiate for the rest of the world, you're going to have to also renegotiate for the United States here.
I saw it too. Dark Horse Comics. Of course, we're still dealing with the whole thing of Diamond distributing, and Dark Horse Comics. I guess the Diamond and some other things they're going through. They laid off about a dozen of their staff this week, so they're downsizing.
Oh, that's right. We're still in the middle of Diamond Gate.
Mm-hmm.
Why you say it's Diamond Gate? It's not Diamond Gate.
It just kind of, it does kind of, hearing you guys talk about it, it does kind of feel that way. And it does affect a lot of people.
So when another major corporation goes through Chapter 7, I believe. Is they doing a 7 or a 14? Because this is reorganization. They got to reorganize, or somebody got to buy them out one way or the other.
I thought it was Chapter 11, but
yeah, okay, so it's 11. So yeah, they have to reorganize, or they're going to get bought out by someone else. And Brian K. Morris and I talked about that a lot on an episode from the That's a Small Press Publisher. But Clyde and I, before the show, was talking about another, if I could say, happenstance, or for some people, a happy stance because of what Massive did with Lunar. But I think a lot of the smaller publishers don't understand why it has to be that way.
They're making a platform where they can get their books out through them if you're smaller, but you still got to have a volume to the point where a lot of people are going to be excluded from it, or it would not be economically feasible for them to do it for the amount that they put out. It costs too much.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the kind of like the thing here. It's like, even with Diamond wouldn't even look at you unless you had multiple issues. You just couldn't have one issue. Diamond would be like, nope, go somewhere else until you have, at least 5-6 before you could carry at least a half year. I tell a lot of people, try to have like a year for if you're going to do an ongoing series, or if you're doing like a mini series. If you're mini series, get the whole mini series out before you approach Diamond. If you're going to do ongoing, get at least 12 to 16 issues out, because they could do an issue per month, and it gives you 16 months, to have issue 17 out. And by that time, it's like, yeah, in 16 months, you can have more issues going on down the line, unless you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, hoping that the money comes in to do it issue 17. But I can understand, like I was telling Clyde, I understand why they charge that fee. Because if you only have one book and you're trying to make money off of that one book, it's not cost effective for Lunar to distribute you. It's not.
Yeah.
So it was like that $500 is like warehouse fees and everything that is needed to carry you in whatever catalog that they have, that you're still going to have to advertise yourself and still put yourself out there to brick and mortar stores.
I gotta
That was
apply.
interesting. The son of the writer of the first Doctor Who is holding back rights for the BBC to show that first episode. Yeah.
Oh, the original with Mr. Oh my goodness, I keep forgetting his name. The first British actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is not the movie, because the actor from the series and the actor from the movies are two different actors.
Yeah.
The original Doctor Who and the Daleks.
Peter Cushing was in the movie.
Peter Cushing was the first Doctor Who. And then
William Hartnell was the one.
And then Mr. Hartnell became the first Doctor in the series. Did you ever watch? Have you ever seen Doctor Who, Cliff? And understand, I go back to old Who. I'm an old Who.
I'm fairly certain the first Doctor Who I ever saw was Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was on PBS when I was growing up.
Yes.
Now I have seen a few of the older ones, but most of my Doctor Who is the revamped Doctor Who.
With Eccleston and Tennant.
Which everybody in the house loves. Even though we gave up and haven't gone back to it when Peter Capaldi took over, just because we're like, he's the sad Doctor. We don't really like that.
He has eyebrows.
Yeah, he actually. I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone in my household called him the midlife crisis doctor.
That's good.
Oh,
I don't remember who did, but that's what we saw, and it kind of took us out of it. But yeah, I love Doctor Who. I don't feel comfortable enough to like speak on any authority, because I do know people who remember the original first Doctor, and they will talk to me, and I just get wide-eyed and go back to my corner.
Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you, I
really enjoy it.
I have 42 Doctor Who books, because what they started doing is as the series because this was originally a children's series. And BBC started also publishing novelizations of the episodes. And I have some of the original BBC published from the original guys. So I think I have a couple of Hartnells. I have a whole bunch of Tom Bakers. Got them from my ex.
I think it's graphic audio. I could be wrong on the people who do it. Have full-length Doctor Who audio novels, and it has like Tom Baker and all of the doctors are doing the voice acting of it.
The doctor the doctor that 20th Century Fox, because they were gonna at one point 20th Century Fox was taking over the Doctor Who franchise, and they did one movie.
Eric Roberts.
No.
Yeah. Well, he was in it. Eric
he
Roberts
was in it, but he wasn't the Doctor.
No.
Doesn't matter. Eric Roberts is in it. That's enough.
But they retcon the Doctor for some reason, and I'm thinking, you already have a sizable enough American audience where if you do this movie right, you don't have to retcon it or anything. There's enough of us who've loved this series since the BBC days. Just do it right. And so to retcon it and say, okay, he's not totally Gallifreyan. He's half human and half Gallifreyan. And I'm like, why? There's no need for that. And they totally, they overlooked Romana Vorchalunda and, yes, children, write me if you don't know who she is. There is a female Time Lord. Her name is Romana Vorchalunda or Fred.
Mhm. I never understood that desire to make things more appealing to consumers by, if it's a sci-fi property, well, we have to have someone from Earth in it. Like, no, you don't have to. It's like the with the Green Lantern comics, every time they introduce a new Green Lantern, it's like, oh, it has to be someone from Earth. I was like, there's like 20 Earth Green Lanterns now.
Wow. Okay. I knew there were two.
Yeah, there's the four main ones that everyone knows: Hal Jordan, Kyle Reiner, Guy Gardner, John Stewart. Then there's
Jessica Cruz.
Cruz and Simon Boz and
Wait,
the late
he's still one?
there's
Simon Boz is still one?
I think so. If you didn't hear our latest B-list booster, I'm 12 long boxes behind on current comics. So and then the one that Lauren talked about on the B-list boosters from Far Sector, that's another human. I'm like,
yeah.
So there's like
that is a really good series.
8. I haven't read all of it. I think I read the first 2 issues and I liked it. But again, they didn't have to have a human in that. It could have worked with just any random Green Lantern.
True.
So yeah, I don't understand the need to do that. We're from a sci-fi standpoint, aliens, other worlds, all this. Humans are not that important in the grand scheme of things. We can just read about other people. So
give us Tomari.
Yes. Yes.
I love the my youngest loves the Lantern Corps. He is very much into the Lantern Corps, and because they introduced when they were because DC does animation very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And they did the tales. It's like Green Lantern, Lantern Knights or something like that. And it's individual tales of the members of the Lantern Corps. My youngest loves that. I have sat and watched it with him, and he really loves it. The little guy who trains them and calls them all poozers.
Kilowog.
Yeah, that's one of his favorites. He adores him. Yeah, my youngest turned 34 last year, but he's autistic. So it's like having a 6-foot-tall 4-year-old in many ways.
That's no different than having a 23-year-old.
Yeah. But so our connection is I'm weird because I introduced my kids to Tolkien because I got the animated movies. I got the Bakshi, I got the 2 Rankin Bass. We watched they taught me about Pokemon, and I taught them about BattleTech. So,
excellent.
So yeah, I'm a very strange black mom because I would sit and talk anime with my kids, and my youngest was 3 months old when I started playing D&D.
It's my wife and I actually were just talking about this last night. My youngest daughters went on a play date with another homeschool friend, and they were big into manga and anime, and the dad was also. And the dad and my wife were talking about the fact all these kids nowadays think, oh wow, you're the cool dad or you're the cool parent because you watch anime or you read manga. And when we were growing up, we were the weird ones because we did that.
So people looked at, it's like, oh my God, because it's like, what the Pokemon are? And it's like, yeah, I know what the Pokemon are. You have it. It's like, yes, I'm Pikachu, baby. And if it's not Pikachu, then it's Mr. Mime. Because I was so into Mr. Mime because he did housework.
You're not weirdos. You were just ahead of your time.
Yeah,
but in a black neighborhood, I was the psychotic mom because
we were at in the Memphis area. We have a big anime convention, Anime Blues Con, and I remember the first year it happened. We went, and I was looking at all of these introvert, shut-in kids who were coming to life because they found their own people, and it kind of got me a little teary-eyed. And I looked at my wife and I said, if stuff like this was around when I was growing up, I would not have felt so awkward and so there's nobody else like me. So as much as we can make fun of con kids, and trust me, they need to shower and sleep at least for 30 minutes. I am so I am so happy they have found their people. And it's
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous because I didn't have that when I was growing up. So I'm
That
very
was
happy for them now.
You're
I'm
talking
that
about loving Doctor Who, and so when PBS was showing it, I was a teenager,
Mhm.
and Tom Baker, my first Doctor, and I was really into the show. And I went to Archon Science Fiction Convention in St. Louis, uh, like the year after it began showing on PBS, because I thought, I'm interested in it, but nobody else around me, they didn't know who he was, they didn't care. And I got there, and people were dressed up as Doctor Who, and and the aliens from the show and stuff, and it was like, I'm home. Ah, yes, I am not so strange. There are other people that have done this too. And I met a young lady that was an artist over there. She's still doing paintings and artwork and selling them. She does fine arts work, but she still has a side deal of doing Doctor Who renderings. So
the
Mm.
last convention I went to when Charles was young, he was 2, and it was a Star Trek convention, and he tried to kidnap Nichelle Nichols. We were sitting up at the front, and I had met her when I was pregnant with him. So, but we were sitting up at the front, and she was finishing her talk, and she was singing Beyond Antares, and he decided, okay, I've been good. I've been sitting in your lap. She's singing, bye. Before I could stop him, he was off my lap and zooming to the stage. And this was we're talking 87, 88.
Mm.
89. So the little place we were at in Northern California, it was a meeting room. So it wasn't this big stage where there is this huge separation from the actors in the crowd. It was just like a little raised platform she was on. And then we were sitting no more than like 10 feet from where her stage was. So he got over there, and it was like, I felt so embarrassed because and the security, everybody just thought, oh, look at your little baby trying to get on the show. Because when he was 2, he used to mac women. We'd be out and he'd see some cute woman and he'd walk up to her and go, hi, take her hand and like, what are you doing? You can't just walk up and walk off with women. It doesn't work that way. But he was determined, and he got and she was very sweet. She picked him up, kissed him on the forehead. For days he kind of walked around and like, oh, just love me. And it's like, okay, just chill. But yeah, I miss the old days of the con. He was one of the first of the con kids, because the only other person I knew who was bringing her kid to the con was Bijo Trimble. She brought her kids to the con because she was working. Bijo, she got connected with the Trek people very early on, and then even I think it was the motion picture. She actually she did some work with them, and then after a while she became sort of part of that team. And
Didn't she handle some of the Lincoln Enterprise stuff early on when they were doing like the little pendants and rings and stuff?
When Majel Barrett got Lincoln up, she was working with Majel for a while.
Okay, that's what I thought that.
But it was one of everybody was we loved Bijo, but we also kind of jealous of her because she had the ultimate fan thing. She got to meet them, she got to know them, and she got to be part of that world. While the rest of us was going, oh please find me out of, I'm just over here in oblivion. Just pick me out of nowhere and make me part of that world. So I did get to meet Tom Baker, and that was fun.
I think my favorite person I've ever met at a con, as far as like they were just a giant fan themselves, but they got into it somehow. Was I was lucky enough to meet George Perez at Superman Celebration one year, and my oldest at the time, she was like maybe 10 or 11, and she dressed up as Saturn Girl from the Legion of Superheroes.
Ooh.
And George saw her when we were walking by, and he stopped his line because he was doing $30 sketches at the convention, and he had a line that was like down the street to the Superman statue. And he stopped the line to come around there and forced my daughter to take a picture with him in her Saturn Girl costume. And that is all he talked about the rest of the weekend. Every time he would see us, he was talking about how much he loved the Saturn Girl. And I'm like, you're like, you're George Perez. You're why are you such a geek?
But I love it when you meet them. I love it when you meet the creators and they're as big of a nerd and a geek as you are.
Oh yeah, he was talking about how much he flat out said comic books are how he learned English, and how much of a fan he is of them. And he was kind of humble bragging, but it was funny because he was talking about he never thought he'd be able to make a living off of this. And now at the time he was like, yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be that good of a year. And then my royalty check started coming in, and I'm like, never mind, because he told us, and this is why when I really got shocked about how much it's changed with creator rights and all that. When Batman Forever came out in theaters, the one with Val Kilmer and Chris O'Donnell.
Kiss from a Rose, baby. Kiss from a Rose.
That, and Drew Barrymore was in it. But that 1 second of a scene where Chris O'Donnell was trying to figure out his code name, and he said, what should I be, Nightwing? Because they associated Dick Grayson with Nightwing, and that's from the New Teen Titans. DC sent George and Marv Wolfman checks for $9,000 a piece.
Wow. Oh, because they
just because he said Nightwing one time. I was like,
direct.
Okay.
Like, when am I supposed to be? Robin, Nightwing?
Yes.
I think our best geeky fan moment from Metropolis, from the Superman celebration. Ginny and I went as Mom Pa Kent with our rocket ship and everything, and John Ostrander was there. Now he's the guy, one of them that created the Suicide Squad, and he was there, and some of our friends are like, you got to go meet him, and I'm like, well, okay. So we went to see him. He was down in the artist alley kind of room, and then it hit me. He also wrote a mini series called The Kents, all about the history of the family. And I'm like, so we got pictures of us with the rocket ship and holding little baby Kal-El, and us as the Silver Age Ma and Pa, and John Ostrander there looking all proud. But he did the same kind of thing. It's like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. This is so neat that you guys dressed up like this. So.
Before I forget, Abria Iyengar is coming to Chicago later this month. There's a convention going on, and she's going to be here.
Cool. So
I can't go. I don't have the money. I am heartbroken because I love me some Abria. But I gotta see if I can tag her at Dimension 20 on their site.
Don't do it. Don't. No, I saw the comment.
What did?
That's why I said don't do it. That's why I said don't do it.
Oh no. Okay. Joe, who was the bad guy I wanted Surefly to dress up?
Dick Dastardly from
Dick Dastardly with Muttley.
I don't know. I guess I could. I got a mustache enough to pull it off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to do a profile photo for books. I got a book fair, a local book fair that I'm going to be part of in a month or so, and they need recent headshots. So I've got to decide whether I'm going to keep the whiskers or get rid of them and try to look clean shaven again or what. So I match like whatever picture I take for the promos, and they will go, where's the one guy that had the fedora and everything? I don't see him here.
Are you going to have a bunny or something in the picture with you?
No, I was looking at their flyers and stuff, and I have some pictures with, spin racks and some cool things behind me, but theirs is more straightforward. They just want a picture of just a regular picture of you and then a picture of your book.
Serious writer, serious,
not necessarily
I am
serious,
writer man.
But also not terribly whimsical, just sort of a more standard look than like the one I like the best is me with a candle in the darkness, going ooh, looking like Kolchak the Night Stalker, but that won't fly. So
the one in the end credits that we use.
Yeah.
Well, you have to let us know. So I can. Are you going to post it on Facebook?
Oh, yeah. We'll
okay. So that way I can say,
And it was kind of weird too. I saw the different writers that have been selected to be part of it, and I made the cut and everything, but most of them, it's not the new pulp stuff that I write. So, which is good. It's there's one guy that does like horror tales, and there's one looks like a futuristic or maybe a fantasy kind of writer, but no new pulp things. So hopefully I'll stand out and make a lot of sales. We'll see.
I'm trying to find the best emoji for something Leia just said. And I apologize because we're supposed to be doing books. I'm halfway through the book I was supposed to do for this week because I've been caught up in a lot of things, so I have not got a book. But we have a guest, so and Cliff, do you have something? He's like, oh my God, she put me in a spot.
Well, we talked about doing the characters that we didn't get to do for the B-list boosters, kind of a character focus.
Yeah, we could do that. Like I said, I am 12 long boxes behind. The only thing that I am halfway current on is I started reading Tom Taylor's Nightwing series. And nice. I am so heartbroken he's not on the book anymore. It is Dick Grayson. It is the DC universe, is everything that I love about the DC universe. And it's someone who obviously grew up reading comics and knows the characters. Unlike another Tom who works at DC who has no idea about the characters he writes, but they give him money.
But he's like the king. He's like the king of DC right now, isn't he?
Don't say it.
He's the king of writing sad stuff.
Yeah.
Now we'll say, in all fairness,
characters are not true to their past either. Sometimes, so
I will say I have been reading his Wonder Woman.
I want to write.
Yeah, I will say his Wonder Woman is a lot better than I thought it would be.
Oh,
because
no, it's not.
Hey, look, he put Angleman back in the comic book, so that right there is enough for me.
But he also left up Danger Street, which put back a lot of the characters that should have been in the DCU back to the forefront, but he's messed it up midway through.
This is the man who made Wally West a mass murderer. What do you expect?
I know. Yeah, exactly.
But yet wrote a magnum opus with Mr. Miracle.
Yes.
Which blows my mind.
And did a great job on Human Target, I thought.
I'm really of the belief that there's certain creators who work better in certain publishing universes. Like the King here is much, much better at writing Marvel stuff. Like what I've read of The Vision was amazing. His Batman,
yeah.
When they had the anniversary of Commandy a few years back and they were doing all the Commandy one-shots, they were all so fun and vibrant. And then you got to his and it was like a horror story and it was sad. And this one I picked up, he doesn't know how to write DC characters. He might enjoy them, but he doesn't know how to write them. Which is why it was so weird because Tim Seeley and him did a good Grayson series for a little while where Dick Grayson was like a spy or something because Tom King worked for the CIA or something. But it was so obvious when that book ended and you read some of his other stuff, it was Tim Seeley who understood the character. It wasn't him.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Yeah.
But no, the Tom Taylor Nightwing is amazing. Even if you're not a Dick Grayson fan, if you're a fan of DC, you should read it. It is so good. Yeah, that's the only thing I'm current on. I've been reading a lot of older comics.
Oh, so there's another older comic person besides me. I think the first thing I did was Mage. The first comic book series I talked about was Mage because I love Mage books. I love the Mage series, and then Aliens versus Predator. Because
yes, I've been reading Tom Pyre's Our Man from the 90s.
Don't know that one.
It's a good one, and I think one of the main reasons I can't get ahead on any of my comic reading is I'll see something that reminds me of a book I haven't read in a while, and I'll go reread James Robinson's Starman. So I get stuck in a reread of Starman for months on end. So
that's time well spent, though. That's that's one of my favorite series of all time.
It's probably my favorite finite series that it had a clear beginning and end.
Right.
And I've always kicked myself because when it first came out, I didn't read it, and I refused to because it was during that whole 90s 0 hour getting rid of the old GSA characters, and everyone has to be gritty, and Fate wasn't the helmet anymore. It was like a knife and all of this. And I was like, the new Starman can't even be bothered to wear a costume. I don't want to read this.
Yeah.
And then I decided to give it a try, and I am so glad I did. Yeah. It's probably the best thing I've read from DC, and I don't know when. So I say it on the B-list boosters all the time, and I've been harassing James Gunn on not Twitter. If you want a successful DC series, just take Starman, take the omnibuses. I have them. I'll let him borrow them and film them panel for panel.
Yep.
And it's a hit. It'd be a hit.
Yeah.
But that's the only. I mean, the only other thing I've read lately is I fell down the rabbit hole of reading a lot of Avatar Press's comics. And I really wish I didn't because I can't unsee some of the stuff they do in those books. Like, if you don't know what it is, don't Google it. But I've read all 250 issues of Crossed. Which was Garth Ennis's whatever. Ouch. And yeah, so yeah, so the less said about that, the better. It's just wow. Yeah.
It just scared me. And I don't scare that easy.
Oh, it's so bad. There's one panel where one of the infected is assaulting a dolphin.
Ew.
Yeah. It's bad. I can't believe I made it through all the issues. I seriously probably need help.
Have you read the DC's versus Vampire series?
I've read the first 2 issues, but again, it's at the bottom of the stack I'm reading.
Okay.
So in 3684, I'll get to it. But it was written by the original one was the original because they've got multiple series now. It was written by James Tynion before.
I like Tian or something like that.
Yeah, I like his stuff. So
Tynan. Yeah.
Spoilers. I know who the Master Vampire is in it, so I'm really interested in reading that to see how it turns out. So
I will admit I did not get it until they started doing later in the series. As you go on, they do sort of like they kind of do flashbacks. So that takes you through just how that person ended up becoming the master vampire. But it does make sense for what happens. You've only got 2 issues, so
I've got the whole series. I've got the whole thing. I just, like I said, I'm really behind.
I enjoyed it. I say I enjoyed it. If your daughter likes kind of horror and romance, A Parliament of Rooks is a great book.
Yeah, she what is she reading right? I think she just finished It for the first time. Stephen King's It.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what she's on. But yeah,
is she reading the book or did she watch the series?
She's reading the book. She's seen the original TV miniseries movie.
Oh, Mr. Curry, Tim Curry
Yes.
as Pennywise. I will not watch The Skarsgård Child. I won't watch that series because it's like Tim Curry is my Pennywise, and you know, I got too many stabby things for people to come fight me.
My youngest two can tell me all about the new It movies, and they've never seen either one of them because they're addicted to YouTube Shorts.
Oh, yes.
There's apparently an entire It series in Lego form that they've seen.
Yes, Lego is doing Legos DC. They have some Legos DC that are they're very funny, as well as some Lego Marvels and stuff like that. So yeah, Lego is having. I sometimes there are times when I've watched Lego version of things. It's like, why isn't DC calling Lego and asking some of those guys to write these, because they come up with some really funny and some really good stories.
We watch the Lego movie fairly regularly, and I always turn it off.
Everything is awesome.
And we always turn it off when you get to the end because we don't want to see Will Ferrell and all the people. We just want to watch the Legos. So, but another good one if you like kind of horror-y books is if you haven't read Deceased, the DC version of Marvel Zombies.
Yes, I got a small part of when Superman is talking to his son, and I haven't managed to collect them yet. I only have so much space on my phone, so you know, it's like I got DC versus Vampires because they were giving me all sorts of Kindle deals. And I was able to do it.
Deceased is really good. Again, Tom Taylor wrote the original series, and even though it's an alternate universe and zombies, yada yada, it's the characters. It feels like a DC book, so I really enjoy it. Some of the spin-off ones, but Zombie Mirror Master running through his mirrors, turning people was worth the bad spin-off though. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Joe is gonna get us killed.
No, I'm patient.
Joe, did you have a review, Joe?
Oh yeah, I was going to say it depends on what you guys want to hear about today.
Oh no, are you gonna rant? Is this gonna be a rant?
It depends on if you pick the right book. You rant today.
What are our choices?
We got one that I was telling everybody about is a sleeper hit. And the other two, got two more that is follow-ups to what we already talked about, and then one issue number one.
Why do I feel the issue number one is the ranty?
I'm not going to say nothing, but you just have to choose. And
there's just something about the way he said number one.
Just like the guy from the Crusade that sat there with the grill. You know, they say you choose wisely.
Choose wisely?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go with the number one issue.
Number one. Cliff?
I'll go with whichever one you rant the most about because I enjoy a good rant.
Well, Joe will give
everybody
you a good
I don't
rant.
know why people love me ranting.
You do it so well.
Since we're going there.
The
number one issue that we're going to talk about is Sweetie Candy Vigilante.
Oh, my goodness.
from Dynamite. So let me go ahead and do this here. So we got Sweetie Candy Vigilante number 1. I forgot who did this. Written by Suzanne Cafaro, art by Jeff Zarnow, Antonio Fabella is the colorist, and Josh Howard did the letters on this here. This was selected, and I must say, y'all chose wisely for the rent. And people know what my criteria is for number 1 issue. Number 1 issues, I really want to get to know the character. I want something to give me something to make me want to buy issue number 2. So pretty much we start out here with just a scene, just like it's winter up in the city. You see, a woman walking in the middle of the city. We just see it's kind of like getting you that titillating type aspect. That's like, oh no, don't be a TNA book. That's like, I'm just not looking forward to that and everything. So, this is kind of like how they want to introduce you to the character. Nothing is being said until she gets to what she thinks is going to be kind of like a restaurant / ice cream shop called the Ice Cream Bunny. And she sees it and she gets this bottle. It's like, oh, cool, Ice Cream Bunny. And, she gives a nice little lick to her lollipop and everything. And it's like, she was like, oh, no way, And then she's up here. It's like the Ice Cream Bunny. And she's like looking at it. It's like, okay, cool. So she walks inside and it turns out it is a dive bar.
Yeah.
So it's like everything is okay. She's like walks in and everything. She hears the the music and she kind of lights up a little bit and then the dread thing. We started to get into the series, and what happens? Look at all this advertisement. This is only issue 1. I don't need to see this advertisement this soon, but it is what it is. And then that look of excitement turns to dismay because it's like you got a droopy Christmas tree, and she's like kind of looking around, the people looking at her and everything. The so-called strippers, kind of give notice and everything, and people are doing X, Y, and Z, and then she, next thing you know, they went after, kind of did the whole thing with the stripper, trying to like take her money and this, that, and the other. Then the barkeeper's like, hey, what's your problem? This, that, and the other. The guy gets a little bit too forward and everything. And then, boom, gun was pulled. This, that, and the other. It's like, oh, what? This, that, and the other. The bartender try something else. It's like, hey, I here to serve this, that, and the other. Somebody breaks a bottle, and then he gets cut up and everything. A little bit, and then the guy is up here making his thing, and everybody in the bar is kind of laughing, and then that's when she kind of like gets more of a stern little look here, and this, that, and the other, and she kind of comes up to him. It's like, hey, what's your problem? And points the gun at her. It's like, okay, no story. I don't know what the character's about. This, that, and the other. We're just gonna roll with it right now. So she gets
lollipop licking time is done.
Yeah. So she gets a little bit of smile, this, that, and the other. And then she asks him, it's like, is he here? It's like, who? And then nobody has any idea of who she's talking about. It's like, ha, 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 this, that, and the other. And then that's when, the main guy that was causing all the trouble looked at the chain and saw the name Sweetie, checking her out and everything. And it's just like, one thing leads to another. It's like she kind of like plays it off and everything. And the bartender, after seeing the nameplate, kind of figured out who she was. So the bartender has an inkling about what's about to go down. And she kind of like looks, it's like, okay, fine. If I'm going to have a drink, I want that, the Ice Cream Bunny. And then the bartender's like, look, I can't serve that. It's like, we have no ice cream here, this, that, and the other. It's a bar, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay. She kind of plays it off, and then the guy laughs at her and this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, here, I give you a peppermint synopsis. That's the closest thing to candy that we have here. And then more advertisements. I'm not going to say too much more about that. Not in the middle of a story, but still, they got to pay the bills and whatnot. So they do all that. They got the peppermint schnapps and everything. And she's like, okay, fine. So she pulls out what it looks like a pixie stick. No, actually, she tries to drink it, and she's like, no, that's not what she likes, and this, that, and the other. Then she kind of pulls out like this one ring and let people see the ring and everything. So the stripper kind of like jumps behind the bar. They about to get ready to, lock the door because they about to get ready to kind of mess her up and, take advantage of her. And then that's where it all goes to hell in a handbasket. Mm-hmm. So pretty much the first thing that she, does is it's like, okay, we pull out a pixie stick and we see the pixie stick. Everything looks like candy and everything. So she ingested a little bit of it. And then the guy is like, okay, cool. This, that, and the other. It's like, really? You just going to get candy? I'm going to snort it. It's like, whoo, that was some good candy. And then all of a sudden it's just like, what is going on? It's doing something, and he dies.
Ooh.
He dies. And I was like, okay. They pick him up off the table, and like I said, it gets kind of gory at this point. It's like he picks him up off the table, this, that, and the other. They feel like, okay, what is going on here? This, that, and the other. So she, eats more of it, and this, that, and the other, and then she kind of shows a little bit of like a fangs and everything. So the bartender, the strippers behind the bar, it's like they kind of figure out what is about to. They already figured out what's going on here. So the little bit that she took into the straw, she actually spits out onto the guy, and it's like it melts the gun, it melts his hand off, and now he has no hand, and he just squirting blood and everything. And then she talks a little bit more mess and everything, and it's just like trying to get them to understand what is going on. So she's like, okay, fine, I just go ahead and pop in this one piece of bubble gum and blow some bubble in his face and melts his face. Okay. I was like, okay, that's understandable. It's like, okay, I see where they're trying to do here and this, that, and the other. So everybody else in the bar kind of like cools out for a bit and this, that, and the other. And everybody else in the bar is up here like, okay, fine, we're scared, this, that, and the other. So she comes to the stripper first with the ring that she had already took out, puts the ring on the stripper's arm, and it comes out sweetie. She does the same thing with the bartender. She goes over to the jukebox and plays the song Sugar Sugar. So she was about to get ready to walk out the door and just, let things be, until the one guy tries to take a picture of her, and she's like, oh, can't have that. Pulls out this one long string of licorice and just takes his head off, and then grabs the phone. It's like, and then she sends a copy of the photo to herself and said, okay, cool, done. And then she breaks the phone and everything. She goes over to the tree and refurbishes the tree and everything, and then the tree comes to life. And then out of nowhere, here comes a gummy bear through the doors, out of the code and everything. And then she's up here. It's like, pretty much threatening the bartender and the stripper. It's like, there are no more bag eggs here. This is a dirty place. Clean it up. We'll be back to check on you two next. Listen to your new bosses. So pretty much she just takes over the bar at this point here. And she walks away and walks out, and that's how the first issue ends. So what do I actually think about this? Where's the story? I have no idea who this character really is. It has no build up to who she is. It just gives me a random happenstance, like, oh, this pretty woman goes in the bar and pretty much cleans up everything. It doesn't make me want to see the next issue. It doesn't make me curious about what's going to happen next. It does zero. It does zero as far as storytelling is concerned here. It's a lot of flash, but no substance. And I get sick and tired of mostly modern books doing that more so than anything else. It could be a good character in this whole shenanigans that they did in this first issue, but it makes me not interested in her. Just like, okay, fine, you just gave me a gory bar fight with nothing else left to think about other than the fact that she'll be back in about 2 weeks. For what? That's not something that makes me want to come back and read issue number 2 to see what happened in 2 weeks.
She's like a poor man's undid Harley Quinn.
No, she's the love child of Harley Quinn and Vampirella.
It's I don't know what she is, but at least by what the insiders were saying here, is that technically she's supposed to be like the daughter of some other candy themed vigilante, except she is more deadly.
But
we get none of that in the book. None of it.
Yeah, and if she's a vigilante, what's the whole point of being the villain? Because she just shows up to like start a fight with these people. It's
she
like
she didn't start the fight. She didn't start the fight. That's the whole crux of it. She didn't start the fight. She just happened to walk in. She happened to walk in and like, okay, I just want this type of drink. You didn't have it. Besides, I'm also looking for somebody, and nobody can help her.
Okay.
But she saw all of this messed up stuff happening around her. And when they tried to do something to her, she went into full-blown action.
Now, I'm going to be the one that's going to get a lot of people mad, but you do know you just described every Image comic #1 from the 90s, right?
And you know I hate Image books from the 90s.
Yep.
No.
It's only a few Image books that I liked in the 90s. And that was Team Youngblood, because again, Team Youngblood was not influenced by Liefeld. What was the other one? Lady Supreme, because there was a mystery about her origin. It's like she was rumored to be technically the daughter of Glory and Supreme, or at least lab created that way.
Was that the one written by Alan Moore?
Mm-hmm. No, not Alan Moore, Terry Moore.
Oh, okay.
That was one written by Terry Moore.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then I like the weird stuff that they was doing, like Liberty Metals and stuff like that. But their hardcore stuff, like I couldn't stand Youngblood, I couldn't stand Ripclaw, I couldn't stand Spawn because of what McFarlane did with Al Simmons. It was just like a lot of stuff that happens here. But Dynamite kind of fell in that way of like, this is all flash but no story. I want story. Give me something that makes me want to pick up the next issue. This was just like, okay, if this was a television show, I was like, okay, that was a fun little episode, but what next? I don't think I'll, tune in next week. Just like with this issue. And I know that they're fans of this series. They're fans of this series, just like how I feel about Something's Killing the Children. I can't stand Something's Killing the Children, and people look at me crazy. It's like, why don't you like Something's Killing the Children? It's like, when you think about how the story was written, you got great characters that are hunters, and the story is wrapped around the family that they're a part of, not the story that you build it up to be. and the story that you was building it up to be is that they're trying to investigate to figure out what was going on with the children in all these different towns being possessed by all these different demons and everything. That fell by the wayside, and we eventually got things like House of Slaughter and all these other subsidiary books here, but it kind of got wash, rinse, and repeat, dealing with the actual mystery at hand. To me, that's not good storytelling. It does something's killing the children morphed into something else other than what it was meant to be. Just like this does not develop the character Sweetie at all. I'm not going to, and I'm the type of person that if I don't get it within the first issue or the first 2 issues, I'm done. I'm pretty much done. And it's like it's going to have to take somebody who is a diehard fan to convince me that several issues down the line that this series is worth my time and effort to pick up and read. So on that standpoint, Sweetie Candy Vigilante #1 gets a disappointing score of 3 out of 10.
Is that an oversized issue?
What was that, Clyde?
Is that an oversize?
No.
Is
No, it's not oversized.
Okay.
It's the same size as like a Birds of Prey.
Okay.
It just looks like that. It's about the same. Maybe instead of 16 pages might be 22, but it's the same size as a normal comic.
What's the cover price on it?
$3.99.
Okay.
For mature readers.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm thinking it's why the book is sells, because it's a TNA book. I believe that they're trying to really make this more of a TNA book. That they're trying to cater to the people who want all these different Harley clones that, may want to go into a bathroom with a couple of pieces of tissue and whatnot.
The ones that are really all swept up into how she looks and what kind of a weird candy-based attack mode she'll use to kill people next issue.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But there should be some type of story behind it, and that's where I get upset about, because it's like it's a cool bar fight, but what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of it? I mean, it's like you just walked into a random bar in this. Again, you're thinking that it's going to be something like an ice cream parlor, something that's nice and sweet and wholesome. Turns out that it's a dive bar. You get into a bar fight, you pretty much mop the floor with everybody, and then there's nothing to make me want to get the next issue to see what's going on.
Not even a cliffhanging question of whether you're going to be in charge. Like if you end up at the top of the game, there's nobody there to challenge you. You've overcome all obstacles.
You haven't introduced any obstacle?
Yeah. I mean, she's manhandled everybody, so where's the challenge here? It's
it's like, okay, she's OP'd, yay. Who's gonna go? It's like she's OP'd, so who's gonna go up against her?
What in the world? Fart fetish issue? What are you
talking
about?
Oh my goodness. No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I just got a headache. I just got a headache. It's just.
I know.
I'm hoping that's not in my pull list at my LCS, but I have heard of that. So.
It's part of your pull my finger list.
Exactly. I did get into it with my LCS owner because I wanted a copy of the Nightwing Uncovered book, which is just, it was nothing but like covers and like fan art of Nightwing. But I'm like, I want that, and he chastised me for giving in to the corporate greed of it. So he'll probably punish me by putting the fart issue in there too. So.
Wokies.
Yeah, that's her term, not ours.
Okay.
Well, I don't have a review this week, but I do. Like I said, Cliff and I did B-list boosters, and I had as my backup focus character that I thought was a B-lister that needed to be brought back. I didn't get to do the second one. We had enough people that we just did one character and we were done. But I found some interesting stuff about it. It's not very long because the characters are hard to track down. They're really obscure, but I've got the rundown of it if you want to hear a recommendation for characters that deserve a second chance.
I'm sorry. I
okay.
tell Parallax a certain thing here.
Okay.
Because she keeps mentioning it's like, oh yeah, it's this that's due or March 26th. It's like, stop talking about it. We don't do free advertisement here. Okay, but go ahead.
Okay. So can I have the screen, please?
Joe.
Oh. There we go. Okay. So also my Onomatopoeia shirt here. Okay. Go. Okay, so here's the deal. The characters that I picked are called the Dynamite Duo, not the Dynamic Duo, the Dynamite Duo. Because between the premiere of the Saturday morning Hanna-Barbera cartoon Shazam in 1967 and the first appearance of Wonder Twins Zan and Jaina on the all-new Super Friends Hour in 1977, there was another set of twins sharing some common ground with both of them, like the Shazam siblings, Chuck and Nancy, Pam and Bill Harris, are the characters that I'm discussing. They were twins who came into the possession of matching mystical rings. Touching the rings together didn't call forth a giant genie like they did for Chuck and Nancy, but it changed Pam and Bill into superpowered adults, somewhat like a cross between Zan and Jaina and their fist bump and any Shazamming member of the Shaz fam.
Okay.
So the Dynamite Duo origin was revealed not in a comic book, but in a magazine that many kids from the era describe as their gateway drug into comic book characters. That magazine was called Dynamite.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I never read that.
Anybody, have you ever read this when you were younger?
Is that Laverne and Shirley?
It is. Yep.
Holy moly.
So Dynamite, it was a magazine for kids founded by Jeanette Kahn, who later became the editor at DC Comics during the era of Vertigo and things like that. It was published by Scholastic Incorporated from 1974 until their last issue in 1992. The magazine featured games and puzzles and recipes and articles on singers and pop culture, TV celebrities, and film stars like Laverne and Shirley. So in issue number 28, which is what this one is, 1976, the origin of the Dynamite Duo was revealed across an exciting 3-page comic book layout. So I'll show it to you real quick because each of these installments was only 2 or 3 pages long in each magazine. So here's where we get the introduction to both of the characters. Nice big, there we go. Nice big, colorful comic book type display. Big splash. And then we get a 2-page partial origin story here.
Wowzers.
Yep. So in the second issue with a bionic power couple on the cover.
Oh, Steve and Jamie.
Yep. We got 2 pages where they are introduced to their arch foe. He's a sorcerer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of exciting looking, but very short. So Pam and Bill Harris, they're ordinary teenagers until winning rings at a carnival changes their lives forever. When touched together, those rings transform the pair from being kids into Dawn Star, female superhero kind of character. And this was about a year before the Legion of Superhero character by that name came along. And Night Glider, the invincible dynamite duo. They could control the forces of gravity. The art was credited to King D Studio, although some of the original artwork has been sold now on heritage auctions, with credit to Chick Stone. Stone worked in comic books during the Golden Age. He did work with Fawcett on the original Captain Marvel and Timely on their Blonde Phantom titles. And he switched over to magazine art during the 50s when things were rough for comic books, but eventually he returned to comics. And in the Silver Age, he was one of the people that they said was Jack Kirby's best inker. He worked on a lot of his material for Fantastic Four. He also worked at American Comic Group, the ACG company, and freelanced at DC. In the 80s, he did a lot of work for Archie's Red Circle line of superhero comics, too. So the writing for the Dynamite Duo origin story was uncredited, but basically goes something like this. At a game booth in a traveling carnival, Pam Harris manages to knock down all the milk bottles and wins a set of identical rings bearing a black and red yin-yang design. She gives one of them to her twin brother, Bill, and dares him to wear it like she was going to do. Challenge met, Bill slips on the ring, and he leads Pam onto the roller coaster where they share a car. Midway through the ride, though, the coaster fails, the power goes out, and the cars derail. Panicked, the twins try to figure out a way out of their predicament as the coaster plunges and their rings touch together, giving off a zap of energy. Suddenly, Bill and Pam are replaced by what appear to be adult versions of themselves wearing blue, red, and yellow superhero uniforms. Both are immediately aware that they are now identical. They have identical superpowers, namely gravity control and flight. And they use their abilities to save the falling coaster before resuming their teenage forms.
Yay!
Later at home, the twins discuss what happened while examining the rings more closely. Pam discovers that there's a hidden compartment, and when she opens it, a phantom-like messenger of the ring appears, saying that he's only got a minute to explain the destiny fallen to these young people. The messenger explains that the rings once belonged to Princess Dawnstar and Prince Nightglider, rulers of the realm called Veros. When touched together, the rulers' rings gave them complete control over gravity. The ability to make an elephant weigh less than a feather, or to make a feather weigh 10 tons, kind of like the Starboy character in the Legion of Superheroes. The messenger also says fate has brought the rings to Pam and Bill so that they can find the missing prince and princess of Veros and return them to the throne. He also warns that they will encounter the original thief of those rings, an evil magician called Nefario. So the messenger vanishes, and Pam and Bill in their guises as Dawnstar and Nightglider make plans for starting a superhero career, including calling themselves the Dynamite Duo. Branding that's got nothing to do with their powers, but everything to do with the name of the magazine. So both are unaware that even now, that dread Nefario sorcerer is watching them through a scrying mirror and or making plans, rather, to reclaim their mystical rings. So in issue 29, with the bionic couple on the cover, the two-page continuation plays out. Using his sorcerer's powers, Nefario toys with Dawnstar and Nightglider after abducting them and using his abilities to turn them into their Bill and Pam forms. He traps them on knife-throwing platforms like at a carnival and prepares to hurl deadly daggers twinward in a typical cliffhanger ending. So the Dynamite Duo was featured from issues number 28 through number 99. And while the first adventure had no credits displayed, later ones did. Specifically, by number 58, the Kubert School of Art was providing the artwork. And Kubert was also doing like a little how to draw section in the book. And the drawing looks very cute, Joe Kubert-esque at that point. Even more interesting is the writing credits. So Jeanette Kahn, later of DC Comics, founded the magazine, and she edited the first 3 issues. But after that, she hired an editor. And that lady's name was Jane Stein, who edited the book all the way through to the end of its run. Writing credits in number 58's Dynamite Duo adventure lists Jovial Bob Stein, her husband, as the writer. Bob's full name is Robert L. Stein. So
Oh no!
yes, at
Holy
least
crap!
some of the Dynamite Duo's adventures were penned by a pre-Goosebumps R.L. Stein.
Oh my goodness!
I know, blew my mind. So if Scholastic Incorporated still holds the rights to the Dynamite Duo adventures, and that's um, it's kind of questionable because, like I said, you've got Dawnstar, and it's a DC character now, so I don't know how that would fly, but they are missing a golden opportunity if they still own the rights, or if they could change her name a little bit to get by with it. Scholastic is already making more annual domestic graphic novels than DC or Marvel do combined, because they sell to schools. They got in with Jeff Smith and Bone, and they've been a force in comics ever since. In the graphic novel formats that they sell to libraries and schools, so a young readership, that's their focus. They should be making collections of the original Dynamite Duo adventures available. Right now, the only way to relive those adventures is buying individual issues of Dynamite like this. And with 71 issues of adventures, that's a considerable investment.
Yeah.
As a superhero duo, not part of a regular title and only appearing in the magazine format, it's hard to even find information about them. They aren't cataloged in things like the comic book or the Grand Comic Book Database because it's a magazine. People have blogged about them a little, but again, having the issues is still the best source of getting anything about their origins, their stories, their villains. The characters may be obscure, but every time Dawnstar and Night Glider come up in an online post or a blog entry, the comments are the same. 1, I love these guys. I used to read them all the time. I'd forgotten all about them. 2, why doesn't somebody reprint them in a collected format? So, and the third thing that a lot of people say was, this is what got me into comic books to begin with, these characters. So if Scholastic did collect them into 1 or 2 volumes, it would prove, I think, lucrative for them, a source of income. It's going to get new generations of fans interested. And nostalgic older readers would definitely, I think, be grateful. And it might even lead to all new Scholastic graphic novel adventures for the Dynamite Duos, for younger audiences. This might not be their cup of tea, but you could update the characters perhaps, because I'm not sure. I don't have the last issue, so I don't know if they ever found the rightful rulers of the alien realm and put them back on the throne and gave the rings up or not.
Or they turned out to be the rightful rulers of the alien realm.
I don't know. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Is since Scholastic is already in the business of making a lot of graphic novels for young people, maybe they should do a nostalgia one. Just again, a source of income. I think they would make money off of it, and I'm invested enough in the stories, especially wanting to see how R.L. Stein developed as a writer, because that number 58 that I read later on with him, it was much more polished than the beginnings here. So if that was him at the start, it shows his progress into producing things. And I had read before that he worked for a lot of magazines and other companies before he ever hit with the Goosebumps series. So I would, I think you got a couple of built-in fandoms here you could impress with publishing this. So Scholastic, if you're listening,
TV rights.
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of like what Mad Magazine is doing. They're not producing new issues, but what they're doing is they are taking stuff from their old issues,
right,
and stuff, and occasionally adding some new editorial notes and stuff to them. In fact, next week I will probably do the Mad Magazine issue that I have, because I grew up with Mad. I love Mad, and I was heartbroken when they announced they were shutting down. But the fact that, so they are getting like a lot of their old classic stuff, and this one, the one I have, has teenagers, sort of like the view of teenagers from the 50s and 60s. It's hilarious. I loved it, but but that's, I'm weird that way. But yeah, that would be great. Maybe somebody, hopefully, maybe somebody at a sci-fi convention will go up to Scholastic, since they're now at C2E2 and other places, and say, hey, you guys had this series. That was kind of cool. You should do something with that, make the old readers happy. And who knows, maybe get some new readers. Because I think what Matt's doing is by doing the reprints and stuff. And I got this one at Target. I think I grabbed it at Target. I think they're getting it's not just like those who are nostalgia for me, but I think they're also getting new readers that way.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because they're getting to see what that classic mad humor that built the brand was.
Right.
You
know. Okay.
I have, unfortunately, something I have to do.
Okay.
So I'm going to.
Hey, Joe?
I'm going to
we're
sign out.
ending. Yeah, we're ending. We're ending anyway.
Yeah, we're getting ready.
We're done. We're done.
We do have, hey Joe, Multiverse Fundraiser. We were doing the Comic Books for Kids charity, and people can still donate up through, I think, tomorrow, like up to midnight.
Okay.
So,
woo, yes.
Yep. And we made a little over, I think, $500 for their cause so far. Now it may have gone up since, but.
Now, before we go, when I was plugging in my laptop, I bumped into my spinner rack and I saw this book and I had to show it to you guys because we were talking about Archie and about Sharknado. There actually is a Archie versus
Sharknado.
No! It's tremendously terrible.
Wow. I got to go to James and grab him and go the Archie Sharknado issue. If you don't have it, you need to order it for me because I will start tearing this place down if I don't get it.
How old a book is that?
No, people don't realize what Elaine just said. It's not something as simple as of a request like that. She will go up into First Aid Comics and start wrecking shop. It's like, well, we've been like, hi James, how's everything? It's like, did you get the last baked good thing that I sent you? It's like, yeah, everything is good. It's like, okay, I'm going to go over here to see if you have this one, but what book are you looking for? Archie versus Sharknado. I don't think we have it. Wait, what do you mean you don't have it? What do you mean?
It's like, do you like my banana bread, right? Like, would you like to eat the next loaf of banana bread I send you, or get it intravenously because I've broken all your teeth?
It is a fairly old book. I want to say it's pre-Afterlife with Archie. So
okay.
Yeah. I didn't know Archie had an afterlife.
Yes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that you probably missed out with Archie.
Yeah, I was having kids.
It's the
no, this is Archie in the 2000s. This is actually Archie's in the 2000s. So you were not having kids in the 2000s.
No, but I was getting them in it. I was getting them out of high school. Yeah. I was getting them through high school.
It's the most depressing comic I've ever read. I cried reading it.
Oh, so yeah, it's sad.
It's really bad.
I thought the Pray for Peace one was kind of sad.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but Afterlife with Archie is really sad. Avoid it and just read about the Sharknado. It'll make your life better.
Read Vampironica and The Hunger.
Ooh.
Those are kind of cool, and they weren't quite as sad as Afterlife with Archie. They weren't quite as good, but they were a bit more horror oriented fun.
What Betty Veronica and Vampirella and Red Sonja or something like that?
It's no. Well, I mean, you got that, but Vampironica was kind of a what if Buffy had turned into a vampire but still fought the vampires, kind of for Veronica.
And The Hunger was Jughead became a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
That one I didn't like that one.
I still maintain that the idea where they got the idea for that was that old Popeye cartoon where Wimpy became a werewolf.
Okay.
It was Wimpy and Jughead, would it be all right if I pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today? Yeah, okay, I can see this.
Well, I thought it was a different play on the hunger story, the old hunger story that they did for Jughead, where the food kept eating people.
Yeah.
Okay, I have so missed a lot of Archie.
Well, you haven't been missing all of it because some of it's been pretty poor, but there's a reason it makes my worst of list so many times at the end of the year. So some of the books.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off because there are some family things I need to deal with.
Okay, we'll do the sign offs now because it is beyond that time. We're about 10 minutes over.
Okay.
Night, my lovelies. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Mr. Cliff, for coming and brightening our day. Hope you come back. You
You're
know
a
where to
glutton for
find.
punishment.
What can I say? Yeah, I am. You know where to find me. I'm here at YouTube. Elaine Haygood. Come up to the website, lenscaponline.com. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have a very special announcement. And everybody can go, yay! Love you all. Take care.
Bye. And now we got Cliff.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I hope I didn't just like crash your YouTube views too badly. It was fun, and I can babble about bad horror movies and comics all day. So anytime you need a break or you get bored, bring me back, and I'll put everybody back in line then. So I don't have anything to plug. I'm a shut-in. So it was good to see everyone.
Well, just don't get enclosed by comic books. Don't be like the what you call it, the ending to that one the one Twilight Zone. It was my time. The glasses break.
I'm actually hoping for the zombie apocalypse because I'm going to build a fort out of comic boxes and just rot it out. But thank you guys.
You're very welcome here, Cliff. And now we got the Elder Statesman.
Hey, thanks for being with us, Cliff. It was a fun chat. And if the zombie apocalypse comes up, I think from the way you've described your collection, you probably got enough comic books to keep them at bay for a long, long time. So.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Clyde Hall. I'm an elder statesman of geekery, and I'm on Facebook. You can find me at Facebook at Clyde Hall or Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall. I'm on Blue Sky at captainaction.bsky.social, or you can check out my Amazon authors page right down here. I'm part of I can't speak, but I am part of Comic Beat's online comic book review crew at comicbeat.com. And I'm part of Comic Book Spectrum podcast here every Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central on YouTube. I'm also an award-winning contributing writer at Stormgate Press with short stories in many of their new pulp anthologies, like the Pulp Reality series. And wouldn't you know it, in the last couple of weeks, Pulp Reality number 5 has come out.
Ooh.
And this is the last Pulp Reality volume. I have a story.
The other ones.
I'm sorry?
It's thinner than the other ones.
It's a little thinner, but they went back to this size format and everything.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and the interior illustration is Brian Rodman. He does all the illustrations. This is my character, the mannequin. This one is dedicated to original characters that are done in the style of the Pulp Mystery Men series or Mystery Women series. So that is out now. It's available on Amazon, or you can go to www.stormgatepress.com and find that, along with all things that are available and also new things coming out. I've also had work in books like Spurs and Six Shooters, Tales of the Old West, also from Stormgate, and Tim Bruckner's Major Marjorie, a Stormgate sci-fi pulp extravaganza, and both of the Lost Adventures of Captain Hawkland series, volumes 1 and 2 here, all Stormgate Press, and all of them except Pulp Reality 5 have something else in common. They have covers by one of our Comic Book Spectrum alumni and Stormgate Press alumni, Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics. He is a Pulp Factory award-winning artist, several years running, and his covers illustrate why. For your next project, if it's books or it's games or any other graphic enhanced work, you're going to want somebody who brings readers to your table with their art. Jeffrey Hayes is that somebody. He's easy to work with and he's affordable. And Joe is going to tell you how you can get Jeffrey Hayes and Plasmafire Graphics to work on your next project.
And you've seen all the books that Clyde talked about, but we got one more special, which is a video that shows you how great Jeffrey Hayes is. So take a gander at this here.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You've seen the videos, you've seen the books that Clyde has. So now go give Jeffrey Hayes that nice little, if I can say, email to say, hey, I'm interested in you having you to do my next cover at plasmafiregraphics.com, or send them a message through the Facebook group for Plasmafire Graphics. As far as I am concerned, I'll be back here this Saturday. Well, actually, technically, I will be back on the air on tomorrow, but not here on this channel. I will be with Ryan Permisson here with the And I Quote Network, when we're going to be talking about fandom. I'll be talking about comic books again. And then I'll be back on Saturday evening for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. And I think I'm probably going to go with Clyde's idea here. I'm probably going to do some more research about what was going down with Massive and the deal that was happening with Lunar, and seeing how this whole thing actually works with Lunar, and talk about that and talk about the pros and cons and everything. And it would probably be a lot less ranty than what it was for last week when I talked about compensation for AI artists. That one got a bit ranty, but it was justifiable ranting as opposed to just talking off the cuff here. But until next Thursday, I bid you guys adieu. Live life, grow, and be well. And unlike our founder, Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. Catch you here next Thursday, right here on Comic Book Spectrum. And we're out.